Welcome to Legislature to the Turnrow. My name is Lee Thorne, and I'm the Public Policy Coordinator for Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation. I appreciate you joining us today to find out what has been going on at the Capitol as it relates to farmers, ranchers, rural Mississippians, and Farm Bureau members. Since our last report, there has been major movement on Farm Bureau-supported legislation. The Senate passed the House version of the Harvest Permit Update, which clarifies that bulk feed may be hauled using a harvest permit and includes wood pellets in the permit, as well as extending the repealer on the entire program. The bill is now awaiting the governor's signature. The House passed the Senate version of the fake meat bill, and the governor signed it into law this week. This bans the labeling of lab or plant-based protein as meat in Mississippi. We are just the second state to pass this law. Finally, the full House passed Senate Bill 2901, the Landowner Protection Act, which allows juries to apportion fault instead of the landowner always being entirely responsible for the third-party criminal actions on their property. This bill is now on the Senate concurrence, non-concurrence calendar. In election news, Friday, March 1st, was the qualifying deadline to run in this year's statewide and county elections. A full rundown of candidates is available on our website, msfb.org. Hover over the Advocate tab and click on Public Policy. This year has been slow legislatively because it is an election year, and we are hearing that the legislature will wrap up a couple of weeks early, saving the taxpayers a substantial amount of money. Since things are coming to a close, there are only a few things left for the legislators to do. Number one, determine what to do with bills that are on the concurrence, non-concurrence calendar. These bills have already passed both houses in the legislature, and they are returned to their original house with changes. The original body can either agree with the changes made and send the legislation to the governor, or invite conference with the other house. Number two, conference committees. These are groups of 3 legislators from each side of the Capitol, appointed by the Speaker from the House and the Lieutenant Governor from the Senate. They work out disagreements between the 2 houses on pieces of legislation that pass through both sides. Once they submit a report, the House and the Senate will vote on the report before the legislation goes to the governor. Number 3, local and private bills. This is legislation that affects local governments. These bills have a local and private committee and are dealt with throughout the legislative session with less stringent deadlines. Number 4, appropriations. These are the bills that make up the state's budget. We watch these bills very closely to ensure that the state entities that support farmers and rural Mississippi are funded. These organizations include, but are not limited to, Mississippi State University, Mississippi State's Ag Units, Alcorn State's Ag Units, Mississippi State's Vet School, the Forestry Commission, the Department of Agriculture and Commerce, Soil and Water Conservation, MDEQ, and the Board of Animal Health. We had 2 big days for Mississippi Farm Bureau at the Capitol these last few weeks. February 26 was Ag Day at the Capitol. Our membership from all over the state came to visit the Capitol, visit with their representative and senator, and be recognized in the House and Senate chamber. We then invited all the representatives, senators, and statewide elected officials, along with Capitol staff for lunch. There, Governor Bryant was presented with a Friend of Ag Award, and Chairman of Senate Appropriations, Buck Clark, talked about the importance of rural Mississippi. March 13th was the Farm Bureau Women's Leadership Day at the Capitol. The ladies hosted a reception in the lobby of the Rotunda, providing legislators, staff, and Capitol visitors with breakfast and information about Mississippi agriculture. The ladies then heard from Commissioner Andy Gibson, Agriculture Chairman Billy Hudson, and Bill Pygott, and Vice Chairman Russell Jolly and Vince Mangal. We are continuing our series of videos about meeting your legislators today with Vince Mangal.
My wife and her family, we all have chicken houses. We have cattle. So everything that I do, every legislation that I drop or get to be a part of is mainly to make sure I protect what I do as what the other farmers in Mississippi do. I have to agree with our President Trump. Just give him time to make a better deal. The deals that were made prior to when he got in office were horrible. I mean, anybody that had any business sense would know that it was a bad deal for the United States. I mean, everything was one-sided and everything went to the other person's benefit. And so I think if they'll just, you know, give us a little time, I think it'll all work out in the end and it'll be a better deal for everybody. Farm Bureau is a big part of what we do. You know, they'll have policy on issues, and so a lot of times we can just look at what they're looking at and usually work from there. But I mean, Farm Bureau members are made up of people just like me. I mean, they farm, you know, they raise cattle, they raise chickens, you know, grow trees, just whatever. So, I mean, they're just the backbone of Mississippi right here.
Thank y'all for joining us at Legislature to the Turnrow. As you can tell, it has been a busy few weeks here in Jackson. Until next time, we will be here advocating for farmers, ranchers, rural Mississippians, and Farm Bureau members.